How's it going, team? This is the Brown Man, and this is part 1 of 4 of our Survivor class series. What I'm going to start doing is actually doing a tier list of each class within the class. I'm not going to do an overarching tier list. I did a couple, and I feel like that is unfair because different characters of different classes have different jobs, and I think some aren't the most important or more important than others who do different things. So if you like this kind of stuff, if you like me breaking things down in a weird, different way than others, like, share, subscribe, etc. We are doing great, and there's so much I want to show you guys, and it's just going to be great. So let's get into it, guys. Let's immediately get into it. We're going to go into the support class first. So the support class is a role that I main. I main ED1 Ash. And I think he's great, and it's not simply because I main him, but let's get into everybody first. So the support class, they all have an aura within 8 meters, and they share their champs, and they heal. So that means with David, his shield aura, with his ability, or his defense aura, is 8 meters, because that's the meters in which you share the champs. So let's get into the new guy. So when you do recovery items, you share with support. Supports were blessed a couple months ago with a 5th slot in pink F, though it doesn't do too much. And David is, of course, the newest addition to Evil Dead the game, along with his sister Mia. So David is a support, and his main attraction to some people, or I guess the most flashiest option, is his active. So his active, he lights a fire, and there's a nice looking blue fire, really dope. But it doesn't do, the impact isn't really felt when it's needed the most, right? So the cooldown is 120 seconds. So the cooldown is 120 seconds, but just be mindful that it is on cooldown while the ability is active. The ability lasts for 30 seconds. So that means the true cooldown is 90 seconds, right? That's how I think about it. Because if it lasts for 30 seconds of the 120, that's only a 90-second cooldown, right? Because it lasts for 30 seconds. It lasts a long time, and it's 2 fear reduced per second. So that brings you down to about 60 fear over 30 seconds. So when you activate your active, it costs more to actually possess a unit in that field, and that goes into boosted beacon, which is the max level perk, which boosts the range to 250, 0.5 energy reduced per hit. So when you attack a unit, they will actually bleed energy out, which is really interesting as a mechanic. And infernal energy required plus 0.5 for possession. So this just upgrades the active, which is good for a bunch of reasons, including making it actually a little bit more useful. But outside of an objective zone, whether it be the blues or the dark ones, this ability doesn't have too much sting to it. But if the demon is harassing you outside of an objective zone and everybody's wailing on, yeah, they're gonna start feeling this a bit. But of course, there are other characters that do similar things but better, which we'll go to. He has soda pop, so when you drink a Shemps, the damage is reduced by 30% for 30 seconds. That's a long time. So that might get hit. I'm not quite sure. But there is a bug, I believe, that people are talking about where you stack the defense buffs by stacking Shemps. I don't rate anybody by bugs. I never have and I never will. So say what you will with that. And Weapon Master Nail Gun, which isn't bad, but it means that you're looking for a certain gun. And if you're looking for a certain gun, that's also special ammo type, and that's, as we know, is the class of the crossbow and the blunderbuss, weapons that traditionally hunters and leaders use. So you'll be using, so your weapon mastery conflicts, and it just takes up a lot more resource. So he's not bad. Supports are in general a good class. Well, all classes in here are generally good, but definitely the special weapon mastery, it's oof. It's just oof. And there's another character that does what he does, but better, which would be ED1 Ash. So once again, he's not bad. He's a solid pick. His active might need to get changed, but then you need to be careful because it can't be too powerful, right? It's one of those things where it can't be too powerful, so it's always useful because then this becomes way too much and way too oppressive. So I'm not quite sure how they're going to handle the active and boosted beacon. I'm looking forward to that. And the next up is Pablo. So Pablo has he's supposed to be a really sneaky guy. Right? He goes off, do his thing. But the issue is that the units got buffed. And when people are wary of the Pablo, if they are looking for the Pablo and if they find the Pablo, then he's not going to make it to the objective. But of course, if you are in a good spot and if the demon is on you, and if you're on comms, then everyone else can push. So it creates, he's in a weird zone where it depends. It depends on a lot. So because he's not consistent, I can't, not in terms of like how someone plays him. He's not consistent because of RNG, because where things are spawned, right? That's not up to the player. Spawns are not up to the player. So because of that, he's a little bit lower. That's because of, once again, the buffs combined with the inconsistency. If it wasn't for some of the buffs, especially the Elegos basic buffs, then he would be a little bit higher because he can handle himself a bit better. But due to all these buffs, it gets a little bit more difficult. So his active is a gift from El Brujo Especial. So you activate it, you drop an amulet, somebody can pick it up, or you can pick it up, etc. The cooldown is 120 seconds. Infernal Camouflage. Demons are no longer able to detect you using Demon Vision, which is really good. So they can still see the car moving on the map, but they don't get the notification. If you fire a gun, they don't get a notification. So it's not bad. I like this guy. Legacy of El Brujo Especial. Begin the match with an additional amulet and shamanic protection. Your shield bar will gradually recover over time until you have at least one full bar. It takes quite a bit of time to recover. It's like 15-20 seconds before it starts recovering. So they need to do some buffs to some of his perks, especially with how aggressive demons can be. That regen needs to be within 5 seconds or so. Like he needs to have some self-sustain. But once they actually touch some of his perks and bring him up, then he will definitely be higher tier in terms of support. But he has some good stuff. And once again, if you have a warrior comp and you're pooping out amulets, really good. Amulets also mitigate damage from Evil Ash, because Evil Ash mitigates that. Also mitigates damage from any other source of anti-heal. So he has his niche, and every character in this game has their niche. Next, we're going to go into Cheryl. Cheryl is the standard healer. All healers heal burst. They drink. Everyone gets. But the difference between Cheryl and ED1 Ash, a lot of it is numbers. A lot of it is actually very technical. Despite how untechnical Cheryl is. So Cheryl is a very easy character to use. Everything rides on her drinking a shemps. So just very simple, very easy to understand. Healing touch, 60 heal per second, 6 seconds. That's 360 heal. Good. Cola coaster, you carry an extra shemps, and you can carry up to 8 total. So you start with an extra shemps, carry up to 8 total. Good. Contact courage, you drink, fear goes down to about 25. Good. You drink, teammates gain 100 extra health. Also good. There's not really much to say about Cheryl because she's just a standard, very easy to use character with almost no nuance. But once again, she is a solid support. All supports are pretty much solid. The extra stuff comes in handy. The extra shemps come in handy. So let's get into ED1 Ash. And because this guy is probably the most complex and elaborate motherfuckers ever, this is going to be a little bit on the lengthy side, but I'm going to make it as condensed and compact for you guys as possible. So demons got buffs, right? But also headshots got nerfed. So headshots got nerfed from 180 to 125 of the value. And we're going to go into why that is important. So let's go into his perks. So ED1 Ash has a fear reduction by 50. It doesn't cost resource, just costs time. The cooldown is 60 seconds. Alternative healing. Damage 20% of your heavy damage is restored to you and those nearby as health. Just keep in mind that this stacks. So if you do hit one dude for 30 damage, for 30 heal, then you heal 30, right? But But if you heal 3 people in one swing for 30, then that's 90 heal for your team. So just keep these values in mind, right? So mark target damage, 20% extra damage buff for 5 seconds after you hit something in the head. So that's clearly for damage, for DPS. And damage restored as health, 10%. So 10% of gun damage or range damage is restored to the person using that damage as health. So if you shoot somebody, if the leader and the hunter is shooting at whoever was marked, they would both gain 10% of the damage that they do for each shot for 5 seconds. So mark target damage, it doesn't just last 5 seconds. It's a refreshing timer. So if you constantly do headshots, the mark doesn't disappear until they're dead. With the nerf to guns, it's important to note that giving damage back to hunters or certain things is really good, but also the free heals. So if you do, and hunters can easily do a lot of damage, hunters have, without going into industrial strength, hunters have 950 health. So if they're doing damage, if they're doing, let's say, 1500 or 2000 per shot, that's 150 or 200 health that they get back per shot. And once again, 150 or 200 health, they only have 950 total health. So if they're landing their shots, they're doing their thing, especially if they spec into damage. Some hunters don't fully spec into damage for some reason, but it's fine. But if they spec into damage and they have the ED1 Ash on their team, they should be relatively healthy throughout the match. One thing that I do hear is that people say, well, it's hard to coordinate with the ED1 Ash, even when he marks something. And that's up to a player's lack of awareness. As a player, you should be focusing on the player-possessed unit. You should be focusing on the possessed basic, the possessed elite, or the boss. That should be a no-brainer. So I don't see where anybody has to go out of their way to find a marked target. Your marked target is for the units the player controls, because your team shouldn't be losing too much health from basic units. You should be fine, right? But the issue, of course, is only the possessed units of the demon. So getting that 20% extra damage in means they die a bit sooner, which is less damage that your team receives and less damage for the book, etc. if they die faster. Once again, this goes out of the range of the pot. So the pot, a lot of people will put down the pot and then summon the she-bitch, the boss. And having reliable gun damage will actually skirt around that a little bit. And of course, this gets around Evil Ash's anti-heal. You can zone out Evil Ash, or you can have the warrior handle that Evil Ash while the hunters just demolish his health bar. And this mitigates a lot, especially as a support. If you're a support and if you're trying to heal a warrior, no matter what support you are, your Shemps isn't going to do as much as the warrior healing themselves. So that warrior is going to want to take the brunt of that attack. Everybody who's not a bulky warrior is going to want to stay back and shoot at Evil Ash, so that way the healer doesn't have to burn through Shemps, just because people want to measure dicks with an Evil Ash. And that's just how it is. And this guy's alternate healing is not bad. Of course, especially in crowd fights. If it's a crowd fight, you're healing 30 health per hit. You're constantly hitting 3 or 4 targets. That stacks up really fast. But people often choose certain weapons, and they don't think about, for example, the range or the speed. But there's a lot involved with picking a weapon. And when you find something that's right, it depends on the demon you're facing. It depends on the situation, your team comp. But this guy gets really nutty, especially if you have a Lord Arthur boosting your heavies. Like, it's just going to be like, you're going to be healing, 40-45 per hit, hitting. So you're going to be doing your free Shemps at a 4-hit combo. So he gets really nutty, but he does have to constantly change how he plays based off the situation. So he's just difficult to learn. Sometimes you go into melee, sometimes you go into shoot. He's just an overall difficult dude to learn, but he has something for every situation. So ED1 Ash is the best because he has something for every situation. And with that, once again, the health of demons going up and some of the damage of hunters or whatnot scaling down, he gives them back their damage. I see a lot of people losing at the book simply because they can't out damage, or we have dueled warriors, and dual warriors right now, on the book with the Henriettas and whatnot, is just, oof, they're getting chopped up because it's pretty much 1 Mia per match, and then it would be either Henry the Red or an Army of Darkness Ash. But that is it for the supports. Do be mindful, and I will actually give a support tip. So when you're playing with people or randoms, you want to mark the ground or mark something and then tell people to follow you. And if you're playing with the support, you want to pay attention to the support's emotes. The support's emotes, most of all. If there's anybody that you should be paying attention to when it comes to emotes, it should be the support. You should shut up and listen to the support. When the support says, "Hey, I got you," or "Hey, follow me," because some of the emotes are actually limited. They can't tell you they're going to drink your shimps. So when they say, "Hey, follow me," or "Hey, something," you want to look for them on the map and go to that support. If you're playing in comms, especially on the dark ones, you want to stick a little bit together. You might want to split up if it's an Elagos or something, but you generally want to stick together. And when you are able to mark something, you mark something, and then if you need to heal, you go to the support's mark. So that's a really good habit as support, because if you keep drinking a shemps just to heal one person, and they keep getting chipped away, you're gonna burn through your shemps. Even if you're a fucking Cheryl, you're gonna burn through your shemps, trying to compensate for one person. So it's best to stick together. It's best for the team to gang up and mob on any threat, and then the support can just heal off on a designated point. I hope you guys enjoy this video. So just a reminder, this is actually, interestingly, in order. It's ED1 Ash, Cheryl, Pablo, and David. David would be up if his active was a bit more noticeable and did a bit more damage. But ED1 Ash, of course, getting the 20% boost with any gun, just trumps being locked to one gun. And he reduces how long units can last. But ED1 Ash also does that by increasing damage. So by increasing damage, you actually make units last not as long, because naturally, if they're burnt out of HP, then they're gone, right? So there's two ways to get rid of a unit: getting rid of HP or getting rid of their energy. And especially on objectives, when they get energy back really fast, it's not really that noticeable. So definitely taking out their HP is a lot more viable than possibly burning them out, unless everyone has like infinite ammo, pistol or something. Then you can get real cheeky. But that be it. Stay safe, stay hydrated, and have a good one.